Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lit Families first session. I'm excited to be here representing the Early Literacy Consortium and Literacy Mid-South. My name is Johnny Blunt. I am the Director of Collaborative Action at Literacy Mid-South. Literacy Mid-South is a nonprofit here in the Memphis community where our mission is to provide literacy resources to learners of all backgrounds and ages. We do that through several programs, working with adults that read below a sixth grade level, supporting literacy in the elementary out of school time space, and facilitating collaborative networks of orgs focused on literacy. So one of those networks is actually the Early Literacy Consortium, which we host with Stand for Children. And we're also excited to be joined by First Aid Memphis in putting on today's session. So tonight we'll have a variety of speakers who will share really valuable information about at-home literacy resources as students head back to school. This is the first session of the Lit Families webinar series, so we will be highlighting different resources appropriate to the school year throughout the year. So be sure to check back for future sessions. Our next one will be in November, and we'll be posting that through social media as well as our website. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. We have Dr. LaShonda Simmons-Faison. She's the Senior Manager of Early Literacy at Shelby County Schools, and she'll be sharing with us info about the Wonders curriculum and Reading 360.
Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. The title of the presentation is Establishing Literacy Success for Shelby County Students. This is a quick look at how we will spend our time together this afternoon. First, we'll look at some key literacy skills in K-2. We'll talk about some at-home literacy activities and strategies. We'll have some tips for making reading a priority. And then we'll look at the SCS third grade commitment. And finally, TDO's Reading 360 initiatives. It seems we're having a few technical difficulties. Let's see if we can start that again.
You said you're going to try to pull it back up, Dr. Faison?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So we see the PowerPoint there. If you can resize that window, I think we'd be fine to just move and use that for the presentation.
Yeah, I don't have that control because it's showing a different screen on my side.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it does not show full screen. Okay, well, without further ado, okay, maybe it's slightly delayed because now it's showing my screen. Let's give it a moment. There we go.
It looks like it's working. Yeah,
There
awesome.
we go. The technology guys are on
Awesome.
our side finally. Okay, so this is the agenda, and this is how we will spend our time together for these 32 minutes now that we've had 3 minutes of technical difficulties. Thank you for your patience with that. So let's take a look at some key literacy skills in K2. For kindergarten, some of the key literacy skills include naming and writing upper and lowercase letters, hearing and manipulating sounds and spoken words, recognizing and producing rhyming words, matching letters to sounds, using techniques like decoding to read unfamiliar words, reading common words such as sight words and high frequency words, and then also asking and answering questions about fiction and nonfiction text. On the right side of your screen, you will see that there are some at-home activities. These are just a few ways, parents, that you can support these key literacy skills at home. You can play a game of I Spy by having your child look for specific letters or common words in newspapers, magazines, at home around the house, in restaurants, or in the car. You might say a word and help your child count the number of syllables in the word. Get your kid active because students don't like to just clap. They can hop the words, hop the sounds in the words, stomp the sounds, jump the sounds, or whatever they feel like using in order to count those syllables. You might ask your child to think of words that rhyme with different body parts, such as nose. What rhymes with nose? Hose, toes, rose. Also, eye, head, and toe are other good words and body parts that you can rhyme. Write several 3-letter words, parents, and then help your child combine or blend the sound of each letter to read the word. You might use flashcards to review high frequency or sight words. And always, always, always read to and with your child daily and ask questions about the text, the characters, the settings, the plot, and etc. Let's take a look at some first grade skills. These are just a few key literacy skills for first grade. Use knowledge of sound spelling patterns and word parts to read and spell words. Spell untaught words phonetically. That means just recording the letters that represent the sounds that students hear in the words. So it may not be conventionally correct, but it's phonetically correct. Read common words like sight words and high frequency words. Compare and contrast the experiences of characters within and across text. Distinguish between fiction and nonfiction texts or books. Write to describe an event, provide information on a topic, or share an opinion. Can you see how the standards progress with difficulty and challenge from one grade to the next? No fear. Here are some at-home activities that you can do to help support your child with these skills. Write words on index cards and have your child sort them by long or short vowel sound. On the back of the card, have your child write sentences using those words. After reading a book or watching a movie, have your child orally describe key details or major events that happened in the story or movie. After reading a nonfiction text, ask questions about the information that was presented. For example, is a whale a fish? How is the whale different from a fish? Write a book review or a review of a toy or item recently purchased, or even a recipe that you've tried. And always, always read to and with your child daily. Ask questions of who, what, when, where, why, and how. Now let's take a look at some second grade key literacy skills. You will see some similarities here, but you will also see how the complexity and the challenge increases. Read common words, sight words, and/or high-frequency words. Use knowledge of sound spelling patterns and word parts to read and spell words. This time, students need to be able to think, talk, and write about what is read in a variety of texts. Determine when characters have different points of view. Describe connections between historical events, scientific ideas, or steps in a process. Write to describe an event. Provide information on a topic or share an opinion. And here's some ways that you can support these skills at home. Have your child write a list of words with a specific spelling pattern. For example, you might have your child make a list of words that have the long A sound that are spelled with the letters AI. Afterwards, have them write sentences or create a silly story using those words. Play a game of question toss. After reading a book, ask a question, then toss the ball to your child. She or he answers and follows up with a question and tosses the ball back to you. Continue this back and forth. Using Skype, FaceTime, or Zoom, have your child read aloud his or her favorite story to a close relative. You can record and replay the session and have your child read along with him or herself. The operative thing here is to read to a close relative, because we know grandparents would love to hear their grandchildren read. Discuss a current event in the news, research it, and then write about it. And again, and always, read to and with your child daily, asking questions like who, what happened, when did it happen, where did it happen, why did it happen, and how was it resolved? We know as families, you have to make reading a top priority. So here are just a few tips to help you make reading a top priority in your home. First and foremost, you have to read yourself. Your actions speak louder than words. Children don't do what we say always. They do what they see us do. So let your kids see you reading the newspaper or curling up with a good book, and they'll surely want to follow your example. Number 2, make sure your child reads every day. Reading is just like any other skill, like shooting baskets in basketball, playing piano. It just gets better with practice. Research says children who spend at least 30 minutes a day reading for fun, and that could be books, newspapers, or magazines, develop the skills to become better readers at school. Number 3, be sure to visit the library. We have wonderful libraries here in Memphis. Make sure everyone in your family has a library card. Schedule regular trips to the library. And while you're there, be sure to check out a book or two yourself. Number 4, read aloud to and with your children. This is the most important thing that parents can do to help their children become better readers. Even a mere 10 minutes a day can have a huge impact on your child's reading development. Busy families, such as my own, we read during breakfast, after dinner, or at bedtime, whenever we can get it in. Even in the car ride to school, I have my daughter read books in the back seat to me. Number 5, give books as gifts. Reading is a gift. So then find a special place for your children to keep and create their own home libraries. And number 6, make reading a privilege. Say to your child, you can stay up 15 minutes later tonight if you read in bed. Or you may even say, because you helped with the dishes this evening, I have time to read you an extra story. Let's see how well that goes over with your kids. And parents, we know for a fact that you are your child's first teacher. Emily Buckwall says that children are made readers on the laps of their parents, and I truly believe that. But we also know that you cannot do this work alone. It takes a team. Shelby County School is committed to partnering with parents and the community. We have what we're calling the third grade commitment. Simply put, the third grade commitment is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and our community that ensures we all work together to make certain that our students have the skills they need to be successful, ready readers before third grade. What's important to note here is that second grade students must meet 8 of the possible 12 criteria for promotion to third grade this school year. Here are the success criteria. The first one is quarter grades. There are 4 criteria here. Students in second grade have to master 70% or above on each report card grade in ELA. That gives you 4 criteria. The next one is 3 formative assessment scores. Students, again, have to master at least 70% or better on those ELA skills. Below are the dates for the assessments. The next one is the universal screener. There are 3 criteria there because the universal screener, which is Illuminate FastBridge, is administered 3 times a year. And then lastly, your TN Ready scores. Students must be on track or mastery in ELA. Now, there is, within the policy of 5013, the promotion and retention policy, a good cause exemption. That means students who have extenuating circumstances or individual SPED or EL considerations may exempt them from this criteria. And so you may ask parents, can second grade students ever reclaim previously missed success criteria points? And the answer is yes. There are 2 ways that students in second grade can reclaim any points previously missed in the criteria. One is if they achieve a 480 Lexile level during the final assessment. If so, they will automatically count for 3 success criteria for the universal screener. Secondly, students who achieve a 70% or better on the ELA reading portion of TCAP or TN Ready will automatically count toward any and all of the 12 previously missed success criteria. So we're not waiting until second grade to determine if students are ready and on track. We begin in kindergarten. So here is the kindergarten and first grade success criteria for the third grade commitment. Let me first start by saying these are not required for promotion to the next grade level. These are simply the safeguards that our district, schools, and teachers review to make sure students are on track for progressing. And if they're not, we have things in place to support them. So let's look at the kindergarten criteria. For kindergarten, they have 4 report card grades in ELA. For quarter 1, kindergarten students must master 80% of those 12 ELA skills that they're being tested upon. For quarter 2, they must master 80% of 13 skills for that quarter. Quarter 3, they must master 80% of those 14 skills that fall into that quarter. And then quarter 4, they must master 80% of those 16 skills. The total number of skills on the ELA portion of the report card is 55. So 80% of that 55 will give us roughly about 44 skills must be mastered by the end of the quarter. And then we also have the universal screener, which is, again, Illuminate Fast Bridge. Students must reach the 50th percentile in ELA on the universal screener. This equates to these cut scores. When the assessment is given in the fall, students must have a score of 34. That equates to the 50th percentile. And as a reminder, the 50th percentile is average. That says that the average kindergarten student for this time of year makes this score. For the winter, the cut score is 52. And when it's administered again in the spring, the cut score is 66. So in order for us to feel and know that kindergarten students are on track for reading and literacy success, they must have mastered 80% of the literacy skills on their quarter report cards and meet the identified cut scores for the universal screener. And again, this is not a requirement for promotion. Let's take a quick look at the first grade criteria. Like kindergarten, the report card grades count for 4 criteria points. In first grade, students must master 70% or higher in ELA in quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. For the universal screener, again, students must be in the 50th percentile for that grade level. And again, what that means is that students have scored the average among their first grade peers who took the assessment. So the cut scores for first grade in the fall is 37, in the winter is 58, and in the spring is 72. This lets us know if students are in progress, are they on track for mastery? So students must pass 5 out of those 7 success criteria in order for us to know undoubtedly that they're on track. And again, this is not required for promotion. So when we notice that a student has missed a particular success criteria, and it may be an indication that they're not on track, an academic support plan will be created for that student. When that plan is created, parents will be notified of the support that the school is providing, and parents, you will also receive information and resources on how to help at home. So what support and resources can parents expect? Personalized academic support plans for each student in K-3. High quality, standards aligned instruction, before, during, and after school tutoring, paraprofessionals or teacher assistants to support every second grade class, and we are working to secure a parapro for every kindergarten and first grade class as well. Parents will receive an at-home literacy communication that shares their students' progress. There will be ongoing parent learning sessions, typically hosted by our FACE department. Literacy resources to support at-home reading. Literacy events are numerous throughout the year. And then you have access to parent resources via SCS websites, such as the third grade commitment website and the early literacy website. Again, we all have to work together. So the Tennessee Department of Education is with us in this work, families. They have a Reading 360 initiative. Let's look at some of the ways Shelby County Schools is taking advantage of the Reading 360 grant opportunities. The first grant that Shelby County Schools has been awarded is a high-quality instructional materials literacy network grant. The purpose of this is to provide support to school districts such as ours as they implement high-quality instructional literacy curriculum. Our adopted curriculum is Wonders. SCS is one of 48 districts selected to participate in the network. We will be a part of this network for 5 years. The next grant is the Early Reading Teacher Training. This summer, we trained over 400 teachers on foundational skills. It was all presented by Tennessee Department of Ed. This included stipends and certificates for teachers who participated for over 2 weeks. This is a one-year deal. We also are a part of the Early Literacy Network. The purpose of this network is to select an implementation support provider to assist our district with developing a comprehensive K-2 ELA implementation plan and to provide some follow-up support for the summer training this past summer. SCS is one of 95 participating districts in this network, and the duration of the network is 2 years. And also, we are a part of the Tennessee All Corps Tutoring Grant. The purpose of this grant is to provide low ratio tutoring that creates high impact learning experiences, focuses on reteaching missed or unlearned content, and connects missed learning to grade level content. The duration of this grant is 3 years. Reading 360 resources for parents are as follows. 1, there's a Ready for K app. With this particular app, parents receive 3 weekly text messages that provide engaging, family-friendly activities that support home literacy learning. And these are really easy activities. You don't have to provide any materials or find anything to do. They're super simple and easy. I get the text messages and I implement them readily with my daughter. Tito is also offering at-home decodable reader series. There are 7 decodable reader booklets in each packet, and these packets have over 20 stories full of sounds and words to practice. Families can read these stories at home with their children and help them sound out words and build their reading skills. Here's the web address here. Otherwise, you can scan the QR code and register for those packets right now. And then there's also PBS Teaching Tennessee. This is a partnership between Tito and the PBS channels to provide over 400 standards-aligned instructional videos created just for our students and teachers. As I said before, we're all in this work together, and I want you to remember this simple equation. Tito's Reading 360 initiatives plus Shelby County Schools plus families and community partners, that's you, equal reading success for all students. It's a pleasure to be in this work with you. Thank you for your time. I am LaShonda Simmons Faison.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faison. That was really helpful and informative.
You're welcome.
Next, I'd like to share an exciting new tool for families. This is an at-home tool that allows families to understand a student's reading level and provides an individual reading plan for the student in as little as 20 minutes. Hello, Dr. Faison. Hello, it is me again. I will be giving this presentation. I'm super excited to share this tool with you guys. The Reading Checkup is a campaign aligning community organizations and schools with a common mission to bring all students to grade level reading by the end of 3rd grade. This community initiative, coordinated by Literacy Mid-South and Stand for Children and powered by Learning Ovations, encourages Shelby County families with K through 3rd grade students to get a free reading checkup. A child completes 2 online quizzes, and then parent or caretakers receive recommendations for specific reading skills to focus on at home while choosing from targeted activities that meet the child's needs. 5 years and 2,000 hours of classroom observations led to the development of Learning Ovation's patented systems. 7 randomized control trials demonstrated that, coupled with professional development, these systems can raise reading achievement for virtually all students to at or above grade level by the end of 3rd grade. The Reading Checkup links language and literacy assessment results to recommendations for specific amounts and types of reading instruction through evidence-based algorithms. Essentially, this software does for families as well as instructors what really sophisticated algorithms sound like they can do, right? You give it information and then it tells you what would be helpful for your student. Reading Checkup identifies 2 major skill areas. There are code-focused and meaning-focused skills. Code-focused skills are focused on turning letter sounds into words. So these are things like phonics, spelling, fluency. Meaning-focused words are focused on reading and writing for understanding. So these are things like vocabulary, comprehension, and writing. And then within both of those skill focuses, there is adult managed and student managed instruction. And so that gives you 4 types of reading instruction that students need to develop into strong readers. There's adult managed code focused skills, student managed code focused skills, adult managed meaning focused skills, and student managed meaning focused skills. The quizzes or assessments are given throughout the year to monitor student progress. The Reading Checkup algorithm updates in real time to provide adults with recommendations for instruction. Assessments can be taken as frequently as every 4 to 6 weeks. And there are those two quizzes that the students take. One is a word match game, which focuses on students' vocabulary skills. And then the other is a letters to meaning kind of game as well, which focuses on students' reading ability. You may be asking, how can I help my child with the quizzes, or can I help my child with the quizzes? You sit with your child one-on-one while they take the quiz. Make sure you can both hear the questions and also read them. And then you can help support your child without giving them the answer. You don't want to supply them the information because you want an honest understanding of what your student or child needs as far as reading instruction. It may be also helpful for your child to tell you the answers that they're coming to, just because it helps to make sure they're focusing as well. So when we're reviewing those results, they come to us in this handy pie chart. So the pie chart shows how to balance the 4 types of reading instruction. Based on how the student scores on those 2 quizzes, each student will have this individualized pie chart. And it's broken into those 4 kinds of reading instructions. So adults can choose either to look at the recommendations as percentages, so a percentage of however much time you have to read. There are also given to you just in straight up minutes. This is how many minutes a student needs to read for each of these to progress. And Learning Ovations recommends that if you have an hour or more, to just stick with how the pie chart is divided, follow what it says. But since we all live in the real world, if you do have less time, you can select something from the largest part of the pie chart, right? Because that is what the algorithm is telling you your student most needs to focus on. And so when you've looked at those results, you've understood my child needs this many minutes in child-focused, meaning-focused child-led reading instruction, and this many minutes in the other categories. You're then given activities within each of those categories. So if I know my child needs 20 minutes with meaning-focused child-led reading instruction, then I'm going to look at these activities. I'm going to look under that category, and I'm going to select the activity that is of interest to me. You may ask yourself, how do I pick the right activity? And the first thing to know is that they are all the right activities. So the activities that do go into here are screened by professionals. We'll be adding new activities as well from community partners, but those in turn are also further screened to get added into the system. So any choice you make is the right one, but some questions to think about when you're choosing is how much time do you have available? Would a longer activity be better to help meet that child's needs? Are you looking for something that could be completed over multiple days? Or do you need something short and sweet? You could look at the title and description of the activity. Does that activity or game sound like something you and your child would enjoy? Like I said, if they're all good options, you look for the one that sounds interesting. Does your child get the wiggles and need a little more of an active activity? Or do you need to select activities that don't require too much explanation? All of these are ways that Learning Innovation recommends to pick an activity. So if you're interested in using Reading Checkup, you can head to memphis.thereadingcheckup.org and get started. You can also send questions to Reading Checkup at literacymidSouth.org if you run into any issues with Reading Checkup, have questions about what I've talked about today, or just want to learn more. And I did want to note that the website will be getting a facelift soon. So if you do head over to memphis.thereadingcheckup.org tonight or sometime soon after viewing this webinar, don't be surprised if it suddenly changes on you. You'll still have the same access if you create your account. We're just going to make it look even prettier. So thank you guys for your time. Next, I will be turning it over to Jenny Renfro. She is the operations manager at First Aid Memphis. It's an organization whose mission is to support families with comprehensive programs that prepare children for kindergarten readiness and third grade literacy. She'll be demoing a social emotional learning activity that can be done at home.
Thank you, Johnny. I am Jenny Renfro, the operations manager for First Aid Memphis, and the mission of First Aid Memphis is to support families with comprehensive programs that prepare children for kindergarten readiness and third grade literacy. Our vision is to prepare 90% of children to be kindergarten ready and 90% of third grade children to be reading on grade level by 2025. Social emotional learning is a critical part of early learning and development, and is a part of our students returning to school maybe for the first time since March of 2020, this school year. Understanding emotions is a critical part of children's overall development, and learning to express those emotions is challenging for many children, ages really beginning early on, even from age 1 all the way through 8 years old. Sometimes we think that some of our older children have learned the coping mechanisms and words to use, but oftentimes it's still there, and particularly after a year of COVID, and with COVID still continuing, this is challenging even for our older children. I'm going to share a video with you.
Oh, I wanted those cupcakes!
You're going to share with your friends, though.
No, that's not sharing them. It's giving stuff away.
Understanding emotions is a critical part of children's overall development. And I will let you in on a secret. That's my 5-year-old daughter. Anyone who's ever been in a meeting with me may have met her. And so one of the things that's challenging for our little children is learning to cope and learning vocabulary to express those emotions. One of her favorite books, and our favorite books in our house, is ABC, Look at Me, by Roberta Grobel. and I'll probably say her name wrong, but Intriter. And we received this book as part of the Imagination Library, so perhaps you did as well. But going through this book provides many.
You're to share with your friends, though.
No, that's not sharing. It's giving stuff away.
I'm going to try to change slides again. All right. Great. So this is a portion of the ABC Look at Me book that is one of her favorites and one of the favorites in our house that we've used very often to express different feeling words. It's one of the books, if you have, I highly recommend reading it with your children. U is for unhappy when I'm feeling sad. V is for victorious. When I win, I'm so glad. W is for whiny when my demands aren't filled. X is for excited when I'm delighted and thrilled. And so oftentimes our children don't have the vocabulary that they need just to express simple emotions like unhappy. And I know for many parents right now, even with teenagers in the house, whiny has become a common word among many adults. And part of that is because children are really trying to get out how they're feeling. And we're experiencing so many varied emotions during this troubled time with COVID and friends being absent from school, being absent from our lives, that it's very hard for children to express these emotions without whining or without crying or without throwing a tantrum. One thing that's very important in trying to teach children these words is to not do that when they're in the middle of a meltdown or a temper tantrum, because nothing will go in and you will get nothing more out than kicking and screaming and throwing chairs. Another good book that I can recommend is Sometimes I'm a Bombaloo. And I think sometimes we can all be that way. I've oftentimes wondered what it would be like if I sat down in a grocery store floor right at the checkout and just began flailing my arms and kicking my legs and screaming and crying. What would happen? Because I think we all have a tendency to want to feel that way and to react that way. So here are some words that you can see that may not be a part of your child's vocabulary. So I'd encourage you to use different and varied vocabulary words to help children express their feelings. And then once they've learned these words and how to express that they are angry without throwing a fit, or that they're feeling overwhelmed or uncomfortable, or perhaps even that they're feeling silly, to praise the fact that they're using those words and to do that regularly so that they will continue to use those words across time. When children are upset, giving hugs if they feel like hugging, or just asking to take deep breaths. Sometimes Daniel Tiger tells us to stomp 3 times and we'll feel better. Teaching our children to ask for help when they're worried or troubled, or just don't know how to express how they're feeling. Sometimes they're frustrated, they're impatient, or they're feeling a little stubborn, which is another word in this book that's one of our favorites. Give these feelings names. When a child is acting in a particular way, say, "Oh, I see that you may be feeling a little silly." Or, "Are you curious about that?" So that they can begin to learn the words and express them themselves. They don't have the words that they need unless we model that for them and teach them those words. Continue to praise your child and support them in expressing their feelings and everyday emotions appropriately through just reiterating new vocabulary, introducing new vocabulary, and praising it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Jenny. I feel informed after your presentation. So up next, we have a double presenter. We have Karen Vogelsang, who is the Executive Director at Arise to Read, which is a partnership of evangelical churches and businesses with local school districts to strengthen second grade students and enable them to enter third grade reading on grade level. Joining her is Dr. Crystal Cook, who is an advisor at Shelby County Schools Department of Family and Community Engagement, or FACE, you may have heard of, which is working to address the needs of families and students both at school and at home. So they're going to be sharing resources related to homework help, but I think we're still getting everything up and shared.
Johnny, can you see our window? Our
I
PowerPoint?
can.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Great.
but it is in PowerPoint mode.
Well,
It is
hang on
not
just a second. I can
presenting.
fix that. All right, we ready to roll?
It is still just the PowerPoint.
Does it say helping your child with homework? I've got it in presentation mode.
It just is not in presentation mode. But I mean, if you can maybe adjust it to where it's a little bigger.
Well,
But yeah, it's not gonna. I had to use 2 screens to share my presentation.
all right, not sure how to do that. Let me try one more thing. This worked earlier. Any better now?
Yes, wonderful.
Okay, yay, awesome. Well, hi everybody. My name is Karen Vogelsang. As Johnny mentioned, I am the executive director at Arise to Read, but I think the more important thing for you to know about me is that I was an early elementary teacher for 15 years, and there are a lot of things that you can do as a parent to help your child with homework. And we know that there's been a lot of discussion over the years about whether or not homework is beneficial for students. And years ago, and when I say years, I mean years ago, when I was a parent of 2 young boys, I wanted to do everything I possibly could to help my kids with their learning. And when it came time for homework, sometimes that was a challenge, and you may be experiencing that as well. So I just want to encourage you as parents that you can take an active role in some very simple ways to support your child in their education. And that can be as simple as just spending time every night reading together or talking to your children about what they're learning about that day, or actually even better, do both. So as a former teacher, I absolutely saw value in homework, but I wanted to be sure that what I was sending home with my students was something that could be balanced with their home life as well, and also give them an opportunity to complete it independently, because many of our parents are single parents. There was a period of time in my life when I was a single parent, so I know that's very challenging. But the other thing to remember as a parent, that the hours that a teacher spends during the school day, teachers are very limited in being able to spend time with children individually. So as a result, teachers really need your help and support in helping classroom instruction take place at home, some of that, and just also spending some time learning outside of school hours. And you can basically do that really simply. You can do that by taking an interest in the homework that your children are bringing home and finding the most effective ways to help them with assignments when needed. So let's talk about just some of the benefits of homework, because there are several. So let's see. Homework helps young children develop strong study skills and positive attitudes about learning. Believe it or not, even in the early years, when your children are coming home with some simple assignments, maybe it's learning sight words, maybe they're just reading some small sentences, maybe they're solving some math problems or counting things at home. These are strong study habits that your child is developing. And it's also helping them develop responsibility. It's helping them with time management. And if you think about it, all of us have deadlines in some way, shape, or form. So it's helping children understand that they're given an assignment, they're given a deadline, and the expectation is for them to meet it. The other thing that homework can do is really help children develop a positive attitude about learning. And when they can bring their homework home and they can do that independently, it gives them a sense of success and it helps them with being motivated and confident about their learning. It also helps them review and practice what they've been doing during the school day. And that's going to help them be successful when they return to school for the next school day. So there's definitely many, many benefits to having homework done. It's a balance. Homework also benefits parents and families because it's going to provide you as a parent with opportunities to see what your children are learning. And that information can help you talk to your child about what they're learning. And conversation about that is so important. I used to always say to my boys, "What'd you learn today?" And the response I got 9 times out of 10 was, "I don't know." So I'd start making up silly questions. And then, of course, in the course of those silly questions, I started to get some real answers about what they were learning that day. The other thing that's really important with understanding what your children are doing at home is it can help you communicate with your child's teacher or other school staff. And that's critically important for your child's success. So I want to encourage you to take the time to talk with your child's teacher early in the school year. As a teacher, that was something that we were expected to do at the beginning of every school year. We were expected to get in touch with the parents, the families of the children that we were going to serve that year, and learn more about how we could support that child and support the family. It's going to be a way for you to stay informed about what's going on at school. If you ever suspect, whether you see this with the work that they're doing at home or conversations that you have at home, that your child is struggling, reach out to your child's teacher or to the administrators at your school to talk about what you're noticing, what kind of struggles you're having. The other thing that's really important is if you need to set up a meeting, set up a meeting. You are your child's advocate, and you need to take a lead in that and not wait for your child's teacher to reach out to you. And then the other thing is, if you see that your child is really struggling with an assignment, or maybe they're excelling and they're going through it really quickly, talk to your child's teacher about that. I remember the second year I was teaching, I had a student, Landon, and I had a parent conference with his mom, and it was just over the phone, and she was just telling me that they were spending 45 minutes a night reading a first grade story, and I was like, "Wait a minute, stop, that's way too long." I could tell just from that very simple sentence that Landon was struggling with his assignment. And so I needed to adjust what I was doing with Landon in the classroom. And I needed to provide Landon's mom with some different support that she could use with Landon at home. So let's talk about some successful tips that you can do with your child when it comes to homework. We don't want it to be a battle. It shouldn't be a battle. So first and foremost, set a regular time and place for homework. You need to make it a routine. For my boys, when they were little and they were in first grade and second grade, when they went home, my mother picked them up. So when they went to their grandmother's house, they were having a snack and then they were playing. But when I got home from work, we took some time to look at their homework or do their homework together and talk about what they learned that day. And this wasn't something that just happened when they were in elementary school. This continued from elementary all the way to high school, I promise you. If your child is in an aftercare program and they're doing their homework in the aftercare program, when they get home with you and you have time face-to-face, spend a few minutes and look over the homework. And the most important thing with this part of it is be consistent with that time and place for homework. Whether it's a kitchen counter, a kitchen table, a desk in their bedroom, whatever it may be, create a regular time and place and make it a daily routine. That consistency will help them a great deal. So the other question that always comes with this, well, how much time do I spend? Well, both the National Education Association and the National PTA Association recommend the 10-minute rule. So 10 minutes per night per grade level. So if your kiddo is in the second grade, homework should not be more than 20 or 30 minutes max. The other thing is remove distractions. And we know that our kiddos have a lot of distractions these days, whether it's the TV, the computer, the gaming system, the tablet, the phone, whatever it may be. When it comes time for homework, remove those distractions so that they're not distracted by those other things that are occurring in the home, and let them focus on whatever their homework may be. If you want your kiddos to be a strong reader, let them see you during this time reading a book, not a device, but actually reading a book or a magazine, a cookbook, whatever it may be. Let them see you doing that. So that brings me to the next point. The other thing is you want to be nearby when your child is doing homework, but you don't need to sit next to them or hover over them while your children are working on their homework. There's been a lot of research studies that show that when parents are just sitting right there, maybe they're helping them, hovering over them. Why did you do that? What made you come up with that answer? It gives the child a sense of anxiety. So let them have the opportunity to work independently and work through figuring out the answers to whatever it is that they're doing with their homework. But you need to be nearby so that if you start to notice that they're struggling, you can step in and support them. So what does that look like? Well, use questions. Use questions to guide their thinking. You don't want to give them an answer. So, for example, you've got a first grader and they're working on addition and they're trying to figure out the sum to 9 plus 7. Well, don't tell them what the answer is. Go and get some pencils or some coins that are sitting in the junk drawer, some macaroni, some dried beans, whatever it may be that you have that child can use as counters, and let them count out 9 and let them count out 7 and let them discover what the answer to that sum is. That'll help the kiddo really own that knowledge, and it's really going to help them boost their confidence and their motivation. And then the next tip is review their homework. So I already talked about this a little bit. Look at what their answers are. Don't criticize them, though. Don't say, what made you think of that answer? How come you came up with that answer? Don't do that. Just ask them some questions. Oh, I noticed that you came up, your sum for 9 plus 7 was 12. How did you come up with that? And you might find out that they've got a misconception about a number, or maybe they answered a question about reading that wasn't quite on target. Ask them how they came up with that answer and talk them through it. The most important thing that you can do, and I cannot emphasize this point enough, is that whether your child has homework or not, spend time either reading to your child, reading with your child, letting your child read to you, and talking about what you've read. Because when you do that, you are boosting your child's literacy and language skills, their vocabulary skills, and all of these things are really going to help set the stage for success during the rest of their academic career, because we're talking about doing these things in early childhood. So, really happy to share these tips for success and why homework is important. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to me at KarenV@arisetoread.org. So right now, I'm going to hand it over to the amazing Dr. Crystal Cook.
All right. Thank you so much, Karen. Karen and I have worked together. I'm also, I don't want to say former, but I've also been a teacher for 17 years before I joined Family and Community Engagement. And I have an 11-year-old who is in middle school, 6th grader, and then I have a 2nd grader. And so homework is it is definitely something that we engage in, but it can be a challenge because my husband is a teacher and then I work for FACE. And so we still use those tips because it is definitely something that we have to be intentional about in my house. I am very grateful that both of my girls are in Y-Care. And I know Karen talked about this a bit, but in Y-Care, what's really exciting is that they encourage them to do their homework. So that way that by the time I pick up the girls from school, or my husband does, we don't have to get home and spend time doing homework or spend a longer time doing homework because Y-Care has helped. So if you have a child or children in an after-school program or anything like that, there is an opportunity for them to get engaged in homework. One of the things that I'm going to talk about that the FACE department offers with Shelby County Schools that is very exciting is Homework Hotline. And Homework Hotline is a free resource or tool that is available to any student. Doesn't matter if they're charter or if they're SCS or if they're from a different or another municipality, for students K through 12. And the great thing about Homework Hotline is that Homework Hotline is available throughout the week. And if you have a child, for example, I have a middle schooler, I am not very good in math. And so even when before the pandemic, when my oldest, who was a fourth grader, especially just the way they teach the math now, that's not the way I learned it. And I didn't want to teach her the way I learned it and, possibly confuse her. So Homework Hotline was something that we used in our home, and it was very, very beneficial. The cool thing about Homework Hotline, and then I'll talk about some of the characteristics of it, is that my daughter could call Homework Hotline, and she has. So she doesn't have to have me to call the number. She has her book open, or, if she's working on her laptop or whatever, she can call Homework Hotline. And then, if she needed help, I'm there, but she can guide them through the questions that she has questions about. And the cool thing is that it's different. It's all the subject areas. So I'll go through the tips or the features of Homework Hotline. So it's certified teachers who are tutoring K through 12 Tennessee students in all core subjects. Help is offered, which is so awesome, in multiple languages. So right now, 7 languages are available. So, if I taught ESL and I had students that spoke Arabic and Spanish and Farsi, and if the parents were not sure how to help their child with their homework, it's offered in those languages. So that's very awesome. The teachers are available Mondays through Thursdays. The hours are 4 to 8 p.m. They can call you, whether it's a parent or a student or together. The number is 901-416-1234. And what's really cool about Homework Hotline is that not only can you call, but you can also get on their website, which is http://homeworkhotline.info/. The really cool thing about the website is that there are lots of different features that you can access, and I'm going to talk about that next. So there's the number, the tutoring. They also offer free tutoring. So this was something that I thought was very cool. Let's say that you're noticing that your student is having issues with a particular topic. Doesn't matter what the subject area is, but it's something that they're struggling with. If you call that number, you can ask about free tutoring for your student. And that person that answers the phone will guide you through the whole process of how to set up free tutoring for your student. And the great thing is that this is all a free tool, and it's available Monday through Thursday from 4 to 8. The students can also send a text of a picture of their homework. My daughter has done that, because then that allows the person that's answering the phone to even better help your child, because they can see the homework. The picture can be a page in a textbook, a worksheet, or a picture of the student's computer screen. And then if a student doesn't necessarily understand how to do that, I've even seen some of the tutors on Homework Hotline guide them through that process and say, okay, this is how you take a picture, or this is how you can text me this. So they're very knowledgeable. And again, with them being certified teachers, this is their craft. So this is something that they're excited about. And if you look at the icon over to the side, that information again, but Homework Hotline, get homework help and tutoring support from SCS teachers. And that's something I did not mention, is that you have SCS teachers that are supporting Homework Hotline, but the cool thing is that you won't get a busy signal, because Homework Hotline actually comes out of Nashville. And so if your student calls Homework Hotline, and let's say that the SCS teachers are, unavailable because they are supporting other students, the great thing is that there's a teacher in Nashville that'll pick it up. And so that's why it's available to the entire state of Tennessee, because it's a collaborative effort. And so that's something that I think is exciting, because, my daughter's been in a pinch before and she's like, Mom, I don't know how to do this. And I'm like, okay, we need to call Homework Hotline, because your dad, who's a math guru, is not available right now, and we need some help. And so we've called Homework Hotline, and it's just been such a great tool. So parents, all those great tips that Karen shared with you, if you are working on homework and the teacher gives your child something and you're at home and obviously you can't get a hold of the teacher, then call Homework Hotline. I know I sound like a commercial, but I can say that as a parent that I have used it and it's been a great resource for me. My name is Crystal Cook and I'm in the FACE department, and you are more than welcome to reach out to me at perkinscd1@scsk12.org. Melinda Callahan is also an amazing resource, because not only does she support, or she's one of my coworkers in FACE, but she also supports the Homework Hotline behind the scenes, helping to make sure that students are getting their answers, questions to their answers, and that the phone is being answered. And so she's a great support system because she has worked with Homework Hotline for several years. And so I got her permission to put her information on the screen, and her contact information is Callahan, CALLAHANM at scsk12.org. So Karen and I are just so excited, families, because you're here, and if you're here and you're paying attention and you're tuned in, it's because that you are very dedicated to your child and helping them to be the best student they can be. And the great thing is that you don't have to do it alone, because we've all been there. We are, like I said, 6th grader and 2nd grader still there. And it's just great to be able to work with these tips and Homework Hotline so that I can feel even more confident, just ensuring that my kids are successful at school. So thank you so much for tuning in, and you've got our information. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We've had people that we've been able to tune into who have helped us. And so we want to pay it forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Karen and Dr. Cook. I really appreciate all you've shared with us, and I'm sure that families have as well. Well, finally, I'm going to turn it over to Gwendy Williams, who is the Director of Strategic Operations at First Aid Memphis, and she will be closing us out today.
Thank you, Johnny, and thank you to all of our presenters today. Again, I'm Gwendy Williams with First Aid Memphis, and so I'm closing out with some resources. You got quite a few from the other presenters today, so I'm just going to quickly go over the resource page we got. Definitely thanks to all the parents who are also presenting. I'm a parent of a 5th grader in Shelby County Schools, so great information, especially that Homework Hotline. I think we'll be using that. So for those of you who registered for this webinar ahead of time, you may have already received an email with this Lit Families resource page. And we have this in English, both in English and in Spanish. And I just would like to take the time to shout out Joanna Harrison, who's the pre-K operator liaison with First Aid Memphis, for researching and pulling a lot of the information that's on this resource page together. And also to Power Solutions, Sean Pachuki, for this great design that we have. So some of the resources that are listed on this page also include not just for students, but for parents. We have adult learning programs link. So parents, if you're out there and you want to get better at reading, or that was something you just didn't tackle, we have some information on adult learning programs. And we also have some information on how, for those of you out there wanting to help other students in the community, how to be a tutor. So, and it looks like Literacy Mid-South is also looking for volunteer tutors as well. And Arise to Read is looking for tutors also. So to access these resources, you can visit www.literacymidsouth.org/litfamilies. And I believe my colleague is going to put that link in the chat for you. And for those who did not get a chance to register ahead of time for this webinar, we really want to have your information so that we can follow up with you with additional resources, and also let you know about our upcoming webinar series. We are planning to host these webinar series quarterly, and in the survey form, we
ask a question to see what you want to hear. Are there certain things that you would like for us to focus on that you want to learn more about? Because we want to make sure that this is helpful for you. And last but not least, I would like to highlight something that First Aid Memphis has coming up. We do have a First 8 Years speaker series, and our inaugural event, I can't speak tonight, will be this fall. And we have 3 events planned for this school year. And the topics will be around early childhood development, infant and toddler brain development, literacy from birth, impacts of racism on development and schooling, high quality care in pre-K, and home visiting and parent engagement strategies. And these sessions are intended for you, parents, educators, policymakers, and all of our partners in the community. And if you have children 4 years old or in the pre-K range who are not registered for school, we have a link right here. Get registered for pre-K. There are seats available out there. So if you are looking for a place for your child, please visit firstaidmemphis.org/pre-K-registration, and we can put that link in the chat as well. I hope that this session tonight was a great learning experience for you. I know I learned some information. And if you would like to contact First Aid Memphis, please reach out to us at pre-k@firstaidmemphis.org. Thank you so much. And Johnny, are you kind of wrapping up, or this is the closeout?
Yeah, just thank you to all the families for tuning in today. We are so excited to be launching this series. And please look for our future sessions. Again, this was all brought to you by the Early Literacy Consortium. Have a beautiful evening.